Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. So we are starting a new free-to-play account. This is going to be my third iteration of the free-to-play series. Because Master Duel has currently just kicked off its 4th anniversary, this is as good a time as any to get into the game. And I'm going to be showing you not only how to get into the game, getting started with a brand new account, but it'll all be free-to-play, no money spent, in order to get some highly competitive decks right off the bat. We're going to do so by maximizing gems and structure decks for the most competitive deck for the least amount of gems possible, and we'll even be using a fan favorite, the Dark Magician. So we're going to get right on into it. Before we do, a couple of things. First of all, as I mentioned, this is actually my third time making a new free-to-play account that I've posted here on the channel. So if you want to see previous iterations, check out one of the many links in the description below. I'm going to put a ton of resources down below. One of those is going to be a playlist to all of my previous free-to-play videos for some more tips and tricks. But this one is going to be for the current 2026 4th anniversary. Also, if you end up liking this content and want to support the channel, I just wanted to express that there's a couple of ways that you could potentially do that. One, watching all the way to the end of videos is a huge boost for smaller channels, especially like mine, and it really means a lot because I do put a lot of work into getting this daily content out. So thank you to everybody who's watching in general. I really couldn't do it without you. But if you feel so inclined, there are other ways to support, such as YouTube memberships, the join next to subscribe button down below. That'll let you see all YouTube content early as it's uploaded, which is often a few days or sometimes up to a week in advance. On top of that, I sometimes upload members-only videos, and you'll get your names at the end credits of every single video. On top of that, over at patreon.com/hexlex, I upload 3 times a week over there. That's all exclusive content that's not posted over here on YouTube. We do a lot of Duel Live reviews, looking at new cards coming out in the OCG and TCG, and I show off replays that I've played that don't make it to the main channel. Also, subscribing over there will get you in the end credits of every video. So, huge shout out, huge thanks to all YouTube members and Patreon subscribers, as well as, again, everybody who's watching. I really appreciate all of you. Alright, let's dive right on in with a brand new Master Duel account. I will not be transferring my current account to this one, so we're just going to click yes, proceed, and start a new game. Alright, that's fine. For this, it doesn't really matter. I'll just put sure, why not? That's all good. We'll click accept. Now, it's going to ask you some questions right up the top, and I'm pretty sure what this ends up affecting, particularly the questions about have you played the card game before, it'll affect your initial in-game settings, but I am going to show you how to modify those settings to optimize them anyway. Alright, now that we've gotten all of that done, welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Aim to become the world's top duelist. Alright, I'm gonna proceed through the tutorials myself and see you on the other end of that, because I don't really feel the need to show them on screen here. It's gonna be the same for everybody. Okay, thankfully the game let me skip those tutorials, and it's gonna put you at a choice of which deck you want to start off with. I'm just gonna tell you right off the bat, this choice does not actually matter that much. Pretty much none of the cards that you use in these decks are going to be particularly difficult to get in the long run, or strong for that matter. If there is one best choice here, I actually think it's Power of the Dragon, because it comes with 2 copies of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, and there is actually a Blue Eyes deck that is very powerful and sees a lot of high-level play. So we'll just go ahead and grab that. But again, it really does not matter which of these you get. Alright, we're just going to do Hexlex F2P for the name here. And I'm going to see you on the other end of this data download. Okay, our download has finished. Let's go ahead and click start and get right on into the game here. Here we are on the main menu. Now, I'm going to go ahead and guide you through things a little bit here. But if you're joining now during the 4th anniversary, the first thing you'll get is this 4th anniversary ticket, which will give you a royal version of a specific UR card. We're going to go ahead and open that later, if I can. Nope, we're just going to go to the card pack screen and do it now. No, okay, we can do it later. So, yeah, we'll do that in a moment. But first, I definitely want to take you through this starting screen. You can go ahead and ignore all of this for now. It's just talking about various things in the shop. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to check out in order to get gems, especially as a free-to-play player, is not the limited time offer. That's to buy gems. But rather, we're going to go over to missions, which are down here. They used to be up here, but now they're over here. And for a new player especially, this is going to be an excellent source of your starting gems. So, over here in lifetime missions in particular, we've got a bunch of missions for winning duels in solo mode, finding secret packs, and as you can see, these offer quite a bit of gems right off the bat. And the cool thing about doing these missions in particular is that we can do these and get all these gems without having to go to ranked ladder. I know that's often like a very intimidating part of jumping into, you know, any PvP game, but especially something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is going into ranked ladder. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to get a bunch of materials without having to go there. Another good place that we're going to want to check out is the shop. So there's going to be a lot here, particularly when it comes to like packs and bundles. But for a player who's just starting out, the main places you're going to want to look are structure decks, as well as the special category. These anniversary packs, I honestly wouldn't strongly recommend the anniversary packs unless you're highly interested in the accessories that come with them. When it comes to the number of packs that you get, it's not always necessarily the best bang for your buck. However, if we scroll down here to bundle deals, these are going to be very, very high value, because these bundle deals will not only get you 10 packs for a really good rate, but they also guaranteed come with a card, and these cards are going to be highly important as staple cards. A lot of them are. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is a particularly good one. So is Nibiru the Primal Being, Infinite Impermanence, Triple Tactics Talent. Those 4 in particular I highly recommend starting with, and we'll be opening those and some others here shortly. However, as I mentioned before, we can actually start getting our gems without even having to duel or build our own deck. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to go over here into solo mode. Solo mode is going to be an excellent source of gems for a couple of reasons. By going into story mode, you have all these different stories, which not only are, you know, cool in-game lore stuff, but if you finish a story mode, then you get 200 gems. Here we go. 200 gems. Whether you do it with a loner deck or your deck. It's typically done with your deck, but this one's a little bit different. Regardless, each of these stories is going to have 200 gems locked behind them. However, again, that's using your own deck to duel to get them, but we can actually get gems without having to do that, because those missions that say to complete things in solo mode will count in practice mode. And practice mode is always going to be a scripted duel, as opposed to you having to, you know, play with a loner deck or something that you've built. So what I'm going to do, and what I highly recommend doing, is we're going to go through solo mode and do a bunch of practices in order to complete some of these missions here. Particularly if we go to lifetime, down here, the win a duel in solo mode. Again, that will actually count if we do that with practices. So I'm going to do that. I don't know exactly how many times. I think I will actually do it all 20, because it shouldn't take too long. But I'm going to do that off screen, because that'll be a little bit tedious to see, you know, live. Alright, so we're back. I've done 20 of the practice duels in solo mode. If you're new to the game, I especially recommend doing the tactical try challenges as well as the gigantic sparkle from Spright, because those will show you some more modern and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh decks and how they operate, which will give you an idea for how Yu-Gi-Oh in general tends to be played when it comes to like turn ones and combo lines and stuff. But I also went into stories a little bit here, and again, what I did is all I would do is just complete this 1-star practice mode, which again will guide you through the game and tell you what to do anyway, and that way you can get a bunch of missions done without having to really actually play Yu-Gi-Oh just yet. So if we go to Lifetime and scroll down here, as you can see, we've completed all of the Lifetime missions for solo mode. So we're going to receive all. And right off the bat, we're almost at 5,000 gems, plus the 1,000 we already have. So that's 6,000 gems, plus a ton of crafting materials for not having played a game yet. Now, another thing that I failed to mention, another way to get a very strong and free deck is if we actually go over here up to Friend, Rookie and Returner Mutual Follower Campaign. The idea here is that each of us has a campaign code, and by using other people's campaign code and having other people use yours, you will get the Gigantic Sparkle Spright deck, which again, if you do that Spright solo mode, you will then have a very good idea of how a Spright deck plays. So this is a very good way to get a strong, competitive worthy deck for free. Very, very cool that the game allows you to do this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to Friend, I'm going to go to Enter Campaign Code, and I'm just going to paste my main account's code. And let's hit Enter. There we go. Alright. Now we have the Gigantic Sparkle deck. And you also get a friend on top of a deck. But now that we have that, we can go into the deck editor. Oh, there we are. And let's actually copy from Structure Deck. There we go, Gigantic Sparkle. So if you are going to begin with any sort of like starter deck in particular, yeah, Gigantic Sparkle here is not a terrible place to start, although you'll definitely want to flesh out the extra deck a little bit more. Although I'm actually not going to focus a lot on Spright, because I said I would do Dark Magician. But before we get into that, there's a couple of other things I want to do real quick to get some more materials. If we go back down to missions here, and Lifetime, you'll see that finding secret packs will also get you a fair amount of gems. Now, how do we find secret packs? Well, we're going to go back over here to the deck editor, and there's going to be a few specific cards that we're going to want to generate here. Now, when you generate cards that are SR or UR rarity, that's how you unlock a secret pack, because it will unlock all secret packs that SR or UR card is in. I recommend using SR craft materials in order to do this. UR craft materials are by far the hardest to come by, and not only that, the strongest cards are going to be UR craft materials. I'm going to talk about using those later. For now, we're only going to be using SR. So one of the links that I have down below is to a Reddit post that has a list of cards that you can craft that will unlock multiple secret packs. The reason you would want to do this is not only for this mission, but also when you unlock a secret pack, you actually get a free pull from that pack. So it definitely benefits you to do that. Alright, give me a second here. I'm going to go off screen real quick, and then I'll enter the first couple of cards we're going to craft. Alright, I've got my 3 cards here. Springin's Merrymaker, Perforapel Skull Crabat Joker, and Asa the Earth Charmer Immovable. I'm not crafting these cards because I'm looking to use them necessarily, but by doing so, we're going to go to Batch Generate Cards Not Owned and spend 90 of our SR Dust to generate them. And wow, we actually got a royal copy of Spriggan's Merrymaker. That's lucky. But moreover, as you can see, we've unlocked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 secret packs by crafting 3 cards. And each of those does come with a free pull. So we're going to discard changes because it's not going to be an actual deck we're going to play. Now if we go over to missions here, yeah, as you can see, there's 5 missions right there. Not only do we get some UR craft points for spending craft points to generate cards, but as you can see, we're getting a fair few of the secret pack rewards as well. So there's another 800 gems and 50 UR craft points. Again, without having to duel or even build our own deck yet. Now we have 150 UR craft points, which is enough to craft 5 UR cards, which is a good fair bit. So we're already at a really, really good place to start, in addition to our almost 7,000 gems now. Okay, now that we have all these gems, I think it's time to go into the shop and start buying some stuff. So like I said, structure decks, if you're looking for a place to begin, are an excellent starting point. Some that I've played in the past in previous free-to-play accounts are the Burning Spirits Salamangreat deck and the Crimson Power Force Red Dragon Archfiend deck, which are both fairly easy to learn and also really solid decks. Other ones I would recommend are Dragon Maid to Order. Dragon Maid is a pretty solid deck. You would need to craft a few URs to make this deck more competitively viable, but to be fair, that's going to be true for pretty much all of these structure decks. The Hero and Raid Raptors decks are also pretty good, but those decks are a little bit more difficult to learn. Their combo lines are a bit longer. Now, like I said, we're going to go for the Dark Magical Blast deck, which is the newest structure deck added. I know everybody loves the Dark Magician for nostalgia, and not only that, but this is a pretty solid deck, and it doesn't take too many UR craft points to get this to a very competitive state. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy not just one, but I'm actually going to buy 2 copies of it. I don't think you need 3, because if we go to the contents, a lot of the main deck cards have 3 copies. The main reason I'm getting 2 is to have a second copy of the Dark Magician of Destruction. And really, that's the main reason. You might be wondering, is it really worth it to spend 500 gems just for, you know, 1 UR card? And the answer is actually yes. Again, UR craft points are highly valuable, and 500 gems is more than worth a single UR card. So we've spent 1,000 gems on those 2 structure decks, which is already a really solid basis. Now, the next place we're going to want to spend gems is in the bundle deals, as mentioned before. We're going to pick up some very powerful staple cards. We're going to start with Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, which is a card you'll play in literally 95% of all Master Duel decks. I'm just going to go ahead and skip the pack openings here. We did get a few UR cards. I'm going to talk about which ones we're going to keep and which ones we'll dismantle later on when we go to actually build the deck. But most importantly, we got a single copy of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now, the next one that I think is most important to get would be Infinite Impermanence. We'll spend another 750 on that. No UR cards is very unlucky there. But we do have the Imperm, which is worth the 750 gems for sure. Alright, let's do Nibiru the Primal Being next. I think that is generally very much worth it. Now, if you see a pack glowing rainbow, that means it guarantees has a UR card in it. Packs that glow yellow or have special animations before them, honestly don't necessarily guarantee anything. The only guarantee is that a pack that has that rainbow glow will have a UR card in it. And we did get the 1 Unizombie there, as well as Nibiru the Primal Being. Alright, so we still have 3,000 gems left over. I could go for the Triple Tactics Talent Pack, or Bundle rather, but I think what I'm actually going to do next is go over to here to Pack. And I'm going to talk about a booster pack that I think for new players is especially worth buying. For the most part, as you're starting off, I do kind of recommend staying away from secret packs. But this selection pack here, Beyond the Next Level, if we take a look at the number of cards included in this pack, they're pretty much all going to be very valuable staple cards when it comes to the URs. Effect Veiler, Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion, Nibiru the Primal Being, which we just got from the bundle deal, Mulch Army, Perilia, Fuelos, and to a lesser extent Meowls, as well as the Forbidden Droplet. I would say those cards, in addition to Infinite Impermanence, are all the ones you're going to end up using the most. The Super Polymerization, the Dark Ruler No More, the Gordian Slicer, and Red Reboot, those are a little bit more specific to which deck or format you would play them in, but that's getting into more advanced deck building. Regardless, I do think this is a great pack to pull from, and I'm going to put on screen right here the number of copies of each of these cards I recommend pulling from this pack. I wouldn't necessarily say you have to open from this pack until you get all of these numbers of copies, but again, it's not actually a bad idea because not only are these cards all generally useful, but you can still always dismantle any extra ones. So in order to try to get some more staples, I'm going to start opening from this pack here. We're going to go ahead and skip. And no URs is extremely unlucky. However, when it comes to selection packs, there is a bit of a pity system. If you open a 10 pack and you don't get any URs, then your next 10 pack will guarantee to have at least one. For this reason, I always recommend opening 10 packs and never opening individual packs, because the pity system for 1 UR per 20 packs guaranteed does not apply to the individuals, only to 10 packs. Alright, we got 5 URs this time, quite good, including another Infinite Impermanence, as well as a couple of copies of Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion. It's worth noting that the art for Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, as well as Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion from this pack, are rare alternate arts that aren't always available and that aren't able to be crafted. So that's another reason why it's not a bad idea to pull from this pack for a new player. We still have 1,370 gems. I think I'll go ahead and open one more 10 pack. See if we can't get some more Ash Blossoms, hopefully. Got a single copy of Forbidden Droplet. Not the most lucky, but... Now, if we go back out to the main menu here, you see we've accomplished a few more missions. That's going to particularly be the secret pack missions, because as we open packs, we're pulling SR and UR cards, which in turn are unlocking even more packs for us. There's another 850 gems, which brings us up to 1,220. Let's go back into the shop, and I'm going to get another 10 pack of Beyond the Next Level. Again, really looking for Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Mulch Army Fuelos is another excellent one. Okay, here's 2 glowing rainbow packs, so there's at least 2 URs there. And we got 5 more URs total. Even though they're not the ones I wanted, that's still really good. Alright. So now we're down to 220 gems. We've got our structure decks. We've opened our packs. Oh, by the way, before I forget, what I'm going to do off screen here real quick is I'm going to open all of these free pulls from the various secret packs that we've unlocked so far. See if we get some more UR cards to dismantle. So I'll be right back after we do that real quick. Alright, just got done opening those secret packs, and in the time spent doing that, it actually kind of rolled over into the next day of the anniversary reward, even though I've only been at this for a couple of hours so far. So that's another free 500 gems for us, which is a welcome bonus. And we also did another one of our daily login missions as a result of that. So we'll definitely snag that up. Ooh, 10 gems away from getting another bundle. Let's see. Let me go into missions real quick and look at lifetime and check out the secret pack one. Okay, if we unlock 2 more secret packs, we can get another 50 gems. So that shouldn't be too difficult. Let me just go over here to deck again, and I'll just reference that Reddit post real quick. Okay, so it looks like if I craft Marshalling Field, that should unlock another 3 secret packs, which will get me 50 more gems. So I only have 10 SR craft points, I need 30, which means I'm gonna have to dismantle 2 SR cards. Now, when it comes to dismantling, honestly, it does take a little bit of game knowledge to know what's good to keep and what's good to get rid of, what's safe to get rid of. And if you're finding yourself lacking that, there are a couple of things that you can do. One, there are a couple of websites that you could check out, like untapped.gg has a really good like meta ranking tier list, as well as Master Duel Meta lets you search for cards and see how recently they've been used and how often they're used. So I'll link those resources down below, but also in the description there's an invite server to our Discord server, the Hexalexplex, and we have a questions and help channel that has been used ever since the latest free-to-play video for a lot of this type of questioning of, hey, what cards should I keep, what cards should I get rid of, I'm new. We definitely welcome that in the server. If you are curious as to what is safe to keep and you're just really unsure, feel free to post screenshots, and myself and or a lot of other people in the server are more than happy to help. Definitely go ahead and join. Again, invite is going to be in the description below to our Discord server there. But as far as stuff that I'm good to get rid of here, let's see. This Curry card, let's go to dismantle selected cards. And yeah, this Curry monster, or that's not the Curry monster, but still. Nightmail of the Dark Wander, I know isn't really used in anything. And here's the Curry monster. We only need 20 SR craft points, so we'll just do those 2 for now. And I think actually by doing that, we fulfill another mission that gives us even more SR craft points. If I remember right. Should give us 50? Yes, here we go. There's another 50 right there. So we could actually craft a couple more from that list. Let's see, let me go into this mode. Yeah, we'll find 1 more SR card to dismantle. That will be at 90, and then we can craft 3. Where is it? Here we go. Let's see. Yeah, this battle unboxer is not needed. Okay, I'm gonna go for these 3. Advanced Ritual Art, Marshalling Field, and Bashia, Brightness of the Yangzing. So let's go to Batch Generate Not Own. We'll spend our 90 SR to make these. And as you can see, we've unlocked even more packs. And by unlocking all of those packs, we can also go back over here to our missions. There's a couple more. And that'll be another 100 gems. So, not quite enough to get another 10 pack. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go to Special, Bundle Deal, and this time I'm going to get Triple Tactics Talent. I really, really like this card, and I think it's absolutely worth picking up. Ooh, got 2 UR cards there. It's not too bad. Probably end up dismantling those. I'll talk about dismantling UR cards here in a second when we go to build the deck. Alright, so I finished putting together the first iteration of the Dark Magician deck we're going to work on. Now, I feel it's really important to stress here that I'm not saying that every single new account necessarily needs to be starting with a Dark Magician deck, but I wanted to show it as an example because it's not only based off of a recent structure deck, but again, it tends to be a fan favorite. So this is the final draft of the build that I'm going for. This is what I would consider to be the most competitive iteration of Dark Magician in the current metagame. Now, as you can see, I'm still missing quite a few UR cards from this version of the build. So what I have put together here instead is a first draft that sort of fills in a lot of the holes with a lot of the cards that we already own, and as a result doesn't play quite as many of the engines. I also made a couple of edits to our Spright deck, but not really planning on starting with this one yet, because we need a lot of work on the extra deck. But I wanted to shout out for this Dark Magician build in particular. I wanted to shout out a creator that I'm a huge fan of and that I highly recommend to both new and returning players, and that is Moha Master Duel. Moha has a lot of very helpful combo guides that'll show you how to play the most recent and most competitive decks. I'm going to link Moha's video for Dark Magician below, as I'm not only basing this build on the build that Moha uses, but I'm going to be basing my combo lines that I use on a lot of the ones that Moha uses as well. So this build has an engine with Diabellstar the Black Witch, as well as a couple of the Azamina cards, and it also plays the Primite Lordly Load in addition to the Roar. The Roar summoning Dark Magician is all you need for that combo line, but Lordly Load searching the Primite Roar is of course also going to be quite good. So again, here's my first draft of the deck here. Basically, I maxed out on cards like Magician's Rod and Soul Servant that we were playing one-ofs in the other build. The next URs that I would look to expand on are honestly probably more of the hand traps, like a third copy of Ash Blossom. Third copy of Imperm will be useful not only for this deck, but a lot of other future decks we build as well. And then for starters for this deck, Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice, having a third copy of that will be very handy, as well as the mentioned Primite Lordly Loads to search out the Primite Roar. There's also the extra deck too. This extra deck just fills out a lot of the room with extra random Dark Magician fusions, especially because we're using Super Polymerization. We also have Mud Dragon and Starving Venom. Whereas if we go over to the finalized build, this is going to run some synchros like Baron de Fleur. That's accessed through Magistus Chorosa, which is a UR in and of itself. And it's got a couple of link options like IP and SP. IP and SP are really good generic cards that I would recommend crafting. I think after I show some of our first ranked games, we'll talk about staple cards that are good to craft for every single deck. Alright, so I think we're pretty much good to go as far as hopping into ranked ladder goes. So let's go ahead and get right on into it. We're going to go duel, and we have a couple of options here. Now, in addition to ranked ladder, there's also event duels that happen once a month for usually a couple of weeks at a time. And this is another great place to get some gems, because the events will always have loner decks. And while these loner decks aren't necessarily like as strong as some decks that people build for the events, I think they're definitely enough to get you at least a good portion of the rewards, if not all of them. But we're not going to go into the current event of Dice Rally. Instead, like I said, we're going to hop on Ranked Ladder. And we're going to take part in some of our first games here. Let's go ahead and bring in our first draft of the Dark Magician deck. And let's hop right on in. Alright, now there is a chance that we might face an opponent who is a little bit more familiar with the game. I mean, to be fair, that's us, right? We're one of those opponents, but let's see what we've got here. I mean, this person has a lot of cosmetics between the mate and the icons and stuff that kind of makes you think they might be a returning player. So in your first game or two, you might even find yourself playing against some more experienced opponents. But don't get discouraged, because when it comes to ranked ladder gameplay, you can't actually rank down until you get to platinum rank, and we're already at rookie, so that's going to be quite a ways away. Alright, I guess our opponent decided they didn't want to play with that hand. So we're going to rank up to Rookie Tier 1. We get 300 gems for that as well. Alright. Now let me go ahead and see something real quick here. Alright, we're at 490 gems. When we get to 600, there's something in particular that I want to get from the shop that I've failed to mention up to this point that I really should. But let's just go ahead and get right back on in with our Dark Magician deck. See if we can't win the coin flip this time. Hey, look at that, we did. Alright, let's see what kind of plays we can set up here. For this first build that I have here, it's going to mainly be focused on getting out the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and hoping that that's enough to finish our opponent off. Alright, so here we do have the Dark Magician Girl. We definitely like seeing that in the opening hand. Red Eyes Fusion can also just directly summon the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as well, but I'm going to start with Dark Magician Girl. I'm going to discard the Magician Souls. By the way, I prefer toggling the view settings to smaller. That way, especially when you're going through the deck, you're able to see more cards. Okay, so Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice, activates. It's going to allow us to add the Shining Sarcophagus. And we're going to activate the Shining Sarcophagus. And we can use the effect. And that will allow us to add Dark Magician, the Master of Black Magic, from our deck to our hand. We can activate and special summon. And let's see, at this point, we can also summon the Dark Magician of Destruction. Let's summon that using the Dark Magician Girl as a material by banishing her, since we activated a spell card this turn. Now we can activate the effect of our Dark Magician of Destruction, and this will let us add a card that specifically mentions Dark Magician. Let's grab the Magician's Rod. I'll normal summon Magician's Rod. We can activate to add a card that mentions Dark Magician. I'm going to grab the Soul Servant. Now we can activate Soul Servant, and this will allow us to stack the Gaze of Timaeus on top of our deck. And furthermore, we can use the Graveyard effect of Soul Servant. And now we can draw a card for every Dark Magician we control, which is just the one, but it lets us get that Gaze of Timaeus. Speaking of Gaze of Timaeus, let's go ahead and activate. And we'll return the... Oh, let's return the Dark Magician of Destruction. And now we can summon the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So now we have that online. Now, normally I would link into Predaplant Ver Anaconda, but we would be sending Red Eyes Fusion from deck, and we can't do that, of course, because it's in our hand. So instead, I'm going to set Super Polymerization and the second copy of the Gaze of Timaeus. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this to on, and during our opponent's draw phase, I'm going to activate another copy of the Gaze of Timaeus. Now I'll tribute my Dark Magician, and we'll summon another copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Now neither of these Red Eyes Dark Dragoon can be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and I can also use their effects to discard a card and negate my opponent's card effects. We also have Super Polymerization face down, which can potentially fuse the monsters on my opponent's board in order to summon a monster to my field. The problem here is that all of these effects require a discard, and I only have one card left in my hand, so I can only really use one of them. It seems our opponent is also on a Dark Magician deck, although I don't know if their deck is as focused on getting out Red Eyes Dark Dragoon as mine is. Alright, let's see what they end up doing here. By the way, I did forget a couple of things. Mainly, well, the settings I was going to go over. There's a couple of things we should have done before hopping into rookie rank that we'll go over after this game, I think. Alright, they're going to activate Apprentice Illusion Magician. I think what my plan might be here is I might just use Super Polymerization and fuse two of their monsters into one of mine. I might make the Dark Magicians, that way I can draw a card, and then I'll be able to use the Dragoon's effect. Okay, they're summoning their own Dark Magician of Destruction. And let's see what they end up adding here. Hopefully nothing too scary. They're going to chain the Secrets of Dark Magic. This is fine. I don't feel the need to negate any of this because, again, my plan right now is to use Super Polymerization and fuse ideally 2 of my opponent's cards, but we'll see what ends up happening here. I might have to fuse my Magician's Rod with one of their monsters. But let's see what they summon. The nice thing about Super Polymerization is that the opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to its activation. So even if they summon a monster with a powerful effect that could normally chain, I'm not really super concerned about it. Okay, so they're fusing Magician of Chaos and Dark Magician in the hand for the Master of Chaos. And then Dark Magician of Destruction. Let's see what that ends up adding. Worth noting, Master of Chaos has a very scary Banish All Monsters effect, but they have to tribute a light and dark monster on their field in order to do so. So we're going to make sure to watch out for if they have a light monster in play. They're going to add a copy of Thousand Knives. I'm not particularly worried about that. Master of Chaos is going to get to revive here. And it's probably going to revive the Dark Magician. So I think what I might do is I might just use Super Polymerization to fuse the Master of Chaos and the Dark Magician. That way they won't be able to activate Thousand Knives. Discard a spell, send it to the graveyard. No, we don't need to do that, because we're going to activate Super Polymerization. We'll discard the Red Eyes Fusion for that. And I think, like I said, I want to summon the Dark Magicians here, because then if they activate a spell, trap card, or effect, I get to draw a card. Yeah, let's do that. Let's fuse... You know what I might do is actually fuse their 2 fusion monsters, because then if they pop with the Thousand Knives, I won't really care that much. No, I'm just going to fuse the Dark Magician and the Master of Chaos. Yeah, because even though I'm not scared of Thousand Knives, the Dark Magician being on the field might enable some of their other card effects. Although, to be fair, the Magician of Destruction also counts as a Dark Magician. Alright, let's see what they end up trying to destroy with the Thousand Knives here. It's going to be my copy of the Dark Magicians, which is unfortunate, because now I don't get to draw a card. I can't use Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Okay, they're going to activate the Magician's Rod. Yeah, I get why I didn't get the second effect here. Because I don't have Dark Magician Girl in my hand deck or graveyard. But it's unfortunate I didn't get the card draw either. That said, I'm not very scared of what my opponent's able to do here. As far as what their current board state is. So Magician's Salvation will allow them to set Eternal Soul. I'm actually really glad to see that, because if they try to use that on my turn, I can activate Dragoons to not only destroy that, but then it'll destroy all monsters on their field. And the only other effect is if they summon Dark Magician. So they only have 1 card left in hand. They don't have a normal summon. They'll probably battle their Dark Magician of Destruction over... Nope, they're going to go for... Miasma Necromancer. Oh, I could have put that in my extra deck. Okay, so they're going to add back a Spellcaster, but they can't use it, which is fine. They could send something and get another normal summon, but I don't think that's going to really help them much here either. Yeah, looks like they're going to have to just battle over the Magician's Rod, and that's going to be it. Okay, they're setting their last card and then passing back over to us. We do lose the Dragoons due to the gaze of Timaeus. Top decking another copy of it, okay. Alright, let's activate this, and then we'll get another copy of the Dark Magician Girl. And we'll start with that, see where we go from there. Okay, they're using the Eternal Soul. I'm definitely going to use the Dragoon's effect on this. Yeah, that doesn't do anything when it's destroyed, so I'm not worried about the Miasma Necromancer. Ooh, we can even add the Dark Magician as well. And yeah, that'll special summon itself, so let's get that, because the Dark Magician Girl requires a discard. Alright, let's see, we can make another Dark Magician of Destruction, using the Dark Magician we just searched. And this will give us another spell card search. Or a monster here. Have we normal summoned? We have not. So yeah, let's just grab another Magician's Rod. And then we can go normal summon Magician's Rod. Activate. For Soul Servant. Let's activate Soul Servant. I'll probably just stack the Gaze of Timaeus again, because then we can draw it. And honestly, that should be enough damage to close out the game, I think, depending on what we summon. Excuse me, sorry about that. Alright, Gaze of Timaeus. Let's see, Master of Chaos would allow us to just get a free special summon, so that's probably the one we should go for here. What does this one do? Yeah, no, let's just get Master of Chaos. Can activate. And, oh yeah, let's revive the Dark Magicians. That's perfect. Alright, yeah, we have more than enough battle damage on field now. Let's battle here. And there we go. That's how we do it. So as you can see, even our simplified version of the Dark Magician deck is able to put out some pretty fearsome boards there. And with that, we've graduated from rookie rank into bronze. With that, we also get another 200 gems. And now that we are out of rookie rank, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. As far as really starting to take dueling a little bit more seriously. For one, we can go into the shop here, and under Special, we'll find the Duel Pass. The Duel Pass, I think, is pretty much always worth it. Oh shoot, it's 700 gems and we have 695. I think we have some from missions anyway. Let's go ahead and grab that, because yeah, as you can see, we now have 13 missions complete from just those 2 duels. And that's going to give us a total of 870 gems. Very nice. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we're going to go into the shop here. We're going to go to Special Duel Pass. And the Duel Pass, I think, is pretty much always worth it if you are able to get it up to level 100. Now, I will say the current one is at 16 days, which depending on how much you play, that might be pushing it a little bit close. But to get the Duel Pass to level 100 doesn't necessarily require winning 100 duels. You'll get experience for winning or losing, assuming you don't surrender. And the experience you get for winning is such that early on, you'll often gain multiple levels per win. And as you can see, the rewards are more than worth it. It costs 700 gems, but if you get to level 100, not only do you get your 700 gems back, you get 100 UR craft points, as well as some exclusive accessories like a wallpaper and mate. So that's definitely something that is super worth looking into, and I would highly recommend it for pretty much every single player. Again, 16 days is kind of the threshold of where it's worth it to get into it, but typically you have, I think, upwards of like 80 or 90 days to complete these, so it's definitely worth getting into the Duel Pass there. Also wanted to make sure we covered the settings. I forgot about that initially, but we're going to go into submenu here and go into game settings. Now for Duel, there's a few things that we can mess with here that'll affect our gameplay experience. Now, your settings, again, are going to be different depending on how you answered on those initial questions, but for self-chain, we definitely want this to be on. That way we're choosing when our effects are, being placed on the chain link. Now, activation confirmation. I'm a fan of switch plus hold and change to do not confirm activation. Now, this means that a button to switch the activation confirmations will be placed on the Duel screen. Furthermore, while holding left click on the mouse, you'll be asked to confirm activations, and while holding right click, you'll be asked to not confirm activation. I'm actually going to switch this to no change, because I think that already does what I want it to. So, as far as like whether that you want to be on auto, on, or off, that's a little bit more advanced, dueling. If you're very new to the game, you can stay on auto, and that's totally fine. But by switching to on, you'll be given more opportunities to activate your card effects at different points, rather than just whenever auto decides you can chain, your trap cards or monster effects from the hand. Now again, auto is pretty good at covering most things, but on will give you the option to do it at every single given opportunity, which a lot of times for advanced gameplay that is very helpful. Card position definitely wants to be on manual. You want to choose where you're putting your cards down. That can matter for a lot of effects like infinite impermanence, right? Where it'll negate all card effects activated in the same column if it's played from on the field. So that's why you want to be on manual for sure. Activation order settings, we definitely want to be set to on. And that's pretty much the majority of the major game settings that you'll have to worry about there. Okay, now that we've got our first deck up and running, I want to talk about what I call staple cards. Now, these are cards that you're going to play in the vast majority of your decks. And I've got a few of them loaded up here as an example. You could honestly put these 16 main deck cards and these 2 extra deck cards into literally every single Master Deck Duel you play. You could start with this basis, and this will be a very strong competitive foundation. Now, you can see that a lot of these cards are stuff we've already crafted, pulled, or gotten from bundles, namely the Nibiru, the Triple Tactics talent, one of our Ash Blossoms, and one of our Imperms are from those. Some other cards that I want to talk about. Joel and Lockbird is the only SR card here, but is extremely impactful, especially in the current metagame. There are a lot of decks which will search a lot of cards from deck to hand and or draw a lot of cards during their first turn as part of their combo line, and Joel and Lockbird is a really good way of putting a stop to that. Maxi is limited to 1 because it is arguably the most powerful, not only hand trap, but card in Master Duel in general. You should absolutely be packing your single copy of this card in pretty much every single deck that you play. Because, of course, if your opponent combos off, they're going to be special summoning a lot, and by drawing a lot of cards, you can either put a stop to that, or then combo yourself. Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring is a powerful hand trap for not only the kinds of effects it can stop from your opponent's comboing, like adding cards from deck to hand, special summoning monsters from deck, but it also stops Maxi, which is again the most prominent and powerful hand trap in Yu-Gi-Oh! Mulch Army Fuelos, sorry about that, is going to be pretty much, I guess you could call it quote-unquote Maxi at home, because you see, it gives you a draw when your opponent special summons, but only from the main or extra deck. That said, a lot of the majority of combos are going to be summoning from the main, and especially the extra deck, quite a bit, making Fuelos among the Mulcharmy cards the safest to use. The other ones, Perulia and Meowls, are okay in certain metagames. Perulia is actually really good right now at the time of recording this video, but Fuelos is going to be good pretty much all of the time. Although I will say, of the cards here, this one's probably lowest priority. Nibiru we already got from a bundle, and it's a very, very impactful hand trap that punishes opponents for summoning a lot. It's also really good when paired with Maxi and or Fuelos because, of course, if your opponent special summons a lot, they'll give you a lot of draws, and then you can draw into Nibiru and wipe their board. Triple Tactics Talent is a really versatile spell card that, honestly, I typically play one copy of in just about any given deck. You can play more than one, but one is about all you need. It's really useful when your opponent uses their hand traps against you. You can either draw a couple of cards to try to keep comboing. If it's turn 2 or later, you can take one of their monsters, making this really good for breaking established boards on your opponent's side. Or, one of my favorite effects to use on turn 1 is looking at your opponent's hand and shuffling a card back from it, which will hinder their plays. Called by the Grave and Cross-Out Designator are both often used against a lot of these hand traps you're seeing here. Call by will banish a monster out of the graveyard and negate its effects until the end of the next turn. This is not only useful against monster effects like Maxi and Ash Blossom, aka hand traps, but it's good against graveyard effects in general, of which there are quite a few. Cross-Out Designator seems a little bit weird to be considered a staple. It looks hyper-specific, right? You have to declare a card name, then banish that card from your deck, and then you can negate that specific card's effects for the rest of the turn. But when you're considering cards like Maxi and Ash Blossom are in over 90% of Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks, it's really easy to see how Cross-Out Designator can come up. Kind of like Fuelos, I'll consider Cross-Out Designator a little bit lower on the priority end of crafting, but still a very good card to have. Infinite Impermanence is really good, not only as a trap card, but as a hand trap able to be used from hand when it comes to not only negating monster effects, but when set, can even negate everything activated in that column. That includes your stuff, by the way, so make sure that you're being careful to play around that. And I have a couple of cards here in the extra deck. SP Little Knight in particular is used in, I think, upwards of 60 to 70% of extra decks. That's because it can be summoned using any 2 effect monsters and has 2 very powerful effects which banish your opponent's cards. The IP Masquerena isn't used quite as often, but is still used in a lot of different decks. It can be made with any 2 non-link monsters and lets you link summon during the opponent's turn. And the majority of the time, your IP Masquerena will be summoning SP Little Knight on the opponent's turn. And because IP Masquerena is a link monster, you'll get this first effect, allowing you to immediately banish a card on your opponent's field. For that reason, I consider IP Masquerena and SP Little Knight to pretty much also be staples, because they're going to be used in the vast majority of decks. So I would say once you have your first initial build of a deck functioning, it's comboing, and you're winning on a ranked ladder, like I was showing you previously, your next priority should be to use your UR craft materials to make whatever cards you're missing from here. I know it'll probably be very tempting to want to just make another deck right away, but trust me, like I said, you can start off literally every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck for the rest of your career with these cards, and odds are that'll improve your deck hugely. Now, of course, that's not true for literally every single deck, but again, for the majority of them, you'll be playing these staple cards. So it's definitely good to have these cards early. That way, you're not just building a bunch of decks that will end up being weaker because they don't have these cards. Highly recommend starting here. Now, if you're looking to get more gems from this point, of course, it's worth checking out your missions. Going to an event if that's online. As you can see, there are a ton of missions for the Dice Rally, and even if you don't have a deck for the event, you can always take one of the loaners. It's also worth checking out your lifetime missions. As you can see, there's some not only for playing in duels in general, although those will reward things like replay and deck slots, but for gems, by simply playing the game, by banishing your opponent's cards, activating effects in the graveyard, etc., so on and so forth, activating trap and spell cards and summoning monsters, you'll continue to complete these missions and get even more rewards. Increasing your duelist level is a particularly lucrative way to do that, as you can see. Not only that, but there's also your dailies, of course. You'll get 3 40 gem missions per day, and you can stack up to 10 of them, I believe. So it's always worth cycling through these every single day. Not only that, but if we go into solo mode, there is these stories that I mentioned before. There are, let's see, 3 per row, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rows. Times 3 is going to be 39, right? 39 different story solo modes, and some of these even have multiple gates. And the reason I'm stressing the number is that if you complete each of these, they will give you 200 gems, and they are very easy to complete, even with your first initial deck. So if you're feeling a little bit anxious about getting back into ranked ladder before upgrading your deck even further, I highly recommend coming into solo mode here and using this as a way to not only practice, but also get a lot more gems. Of course, continuing to play ranked ladder will be quite lucrative for you as well, because not only can you complete daily missions on ranked ladder, but you'll get a gem reward for each tier that you advance to. Early on, it's pretty easy to advance. As you can see, you would just need to win 1 time to go from Bronze 5 to Bronze 4. And as I mentioned, you won't actually start losing ranks when you lose games until you get to Platinum. So from Rookie, Bronze, Silver, and Gold rank, that is so many games, so many gems that you can play without having to have fear of ranking down. You will go down 1 rank at the end of each season automatically, but that applies to everybody, and that's only once per month. Okay, I think I've covered pretty much everything that I want to as far as how to take a brand new Master Duel account and optimize it for a free-to-play scenario. Not only have we started with a structure deck, we've expanded upon it to its most competitive iteration, not only in general, but that we can make. And I've also shown how to further get even more gems to build even more decks. As always, I can't stress this enough. If you have any questions at all, feel free to join our Discord server, the Hexlexplex. That'll be linked in the description below, along with all the other resources I've talked about up to this point. And we are always welcoming new users and players, and we're more than happy to help you out. Alright, I think that's gonna do it for this one. If you're interested in seeing me do more free-to-play content, whether it's expanding on an account like this and building more competitive decks and ranking up, or if you want to see some more examples of how to get, packs and gems without having to, fork over money, any tips or tricks, anything like that, please let me know in the comments below. I do check all of the comments. I read every single one, I promise you, and I'm always happy to help, not only by replying to comments, but also by making videos based on suggestions from the comments. Alright, I think that's just about gonna do it. I don't think I have anything else I want to cover here. So thank you again, as always. I super appreciate you all for watching, and we're just gonna go ahead and move on to our outro at this point. So that way we can especially thank our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers for their very, very generous support. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.